It was just another busy afternoon at the local diner, the kind of place where the clatter of plates and the rich aroma of brewed coffee blended into a familiar comfort. I often came here to escape the weight of my daily life. Swirling thoughts swimming through my head like autumn leaves caught in the wind. Sipping my black coffee, I glanced around, letting the sounds wrap around me. That's when I noticed him, a disheveled man, seated in a corner booth. His eyes distant, as if he were floating in a sea of worry. Something tugged at my heart. I couldn't shake the feeling that a small act of kindness could mean the world to someone bearing such a heavy burden. On impulse, I called over the waitress. "Can you add his meal to my bill?" I said, nodding toward the man. She raised an eyebrow but obliged, and just like that, I felt a rush of warmth. I watched as she approached him, and for a fleeting moment, a flicker of surprise crossed his face before he nodded his thanks. It was a small gesture, but it seemed enough to bring a hint of light into his gloomy world. Days turned into a blur until one fateful midnight. My phone jolted me awake. I rubbed my eyes, the anger of disrupted sleep quickly replaced by a surge of nervous energy as I answered. "Is this Ava Miller?" The voice on the other end was calm, yet drenched in urgency. "We need to discuss a matter concerning the man you assisted at the diner." My heart raced, confusion flooding my mind. Who was he? "He's not just any individual." The voice continued, sending chills down my spine. "He's involved in a national security investigation, and by helping him, you've become a part of it." My mind spun as the weight of that information settled in. I felt as if I had stepped into a thriller, drawn into a web of intrigue I didn't sign up for. Unwittingly, I had crossed paths with something dangerous. Why had I felt so compelled to help? Was it mere empathy, or something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface? With each tick of the clock, the truth called to me like a phantom. The diner, a simple refuge, now felt like ground zero in a complex mystery. I had to uncover the tangled roots of this connection before the shadows swallowed me whole. But just as I thought I'd grasped the first clue, a chilling realization settled. The danger was closer than I could have ever imagined. And as I took a deep breath, the air thick with tension, I wondered what other secrets were waiting to surface. Before we continue unraveling this unfolding mystery, a quick alert for you who follow our stories. YouTube has been removing subscriptions lately, so why not take a moment to check if you're still subscribed? And while you're at it, tap that like button to support the channel. Now, let's dive back into this urgent revelation. The following morning felt eerie, cloaked in a silence that echoed the turmoil in my mind. With every sip of coffee, I replayed the conversation from last night, piecing together fragments of a reality I never wanted to comprehend. I glanced out the window, watching the world continue its ceaseless rhythm, oblivious to the storm brewing around me. How could a single act of kindness entangle me in something so monumental? Determined to find answers, I grabbed my jacket and stepped into the brisk air. The diner was only a few blocks away, but each step felt like a leap into the unknown. I arrived, feeling the familiar warmth but also an undercurrent of dread weaving through the conversations echoing off the vinyl booths. I approached the same waitress who had helped me the day before, hoping she might shed light on the man I'd unknowingly aided. "Hey, can I ask you something?" I said, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. She looked up, curiosity brightening her eyes. "The man I paid for, did he frequently come here?" She hesitated, a shadow crossing her face. "He did, but lately, he seemed different, like he was carrying a weight." Her brows knit together. "Why, do you know him?" "No, but I'm starting to worry." My heart raced as I realized I was stepping deeper into a tale that wasn't mine. "Do you remember anything else about him? Any conversations?" She thought for a moment. "Just one thing. He mentioned something about being in too deep, like he was entangled in a situation he couldn't get out of." I felt a chill creep up my spine, as if her words were a warning. What had I stumbled into? Was he really just a victim, or was there something darker lurking beneath the surface? As I fumbled for my next question, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, snapping me back to reality. I glanced at the screen, and my breath caught an unknown number. It felt like the universe was closing in around me, daring me to answer. Little did I know, this call would lead me even deeper into the abyss. We're just getting started with this unfolding enigma. But first, if you enjoy the twists and turns of our tales, please consider subscribing and letting us know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's unveil the next layer of this gripping story. I took a deep breath and answered the call, my heart hammering in my chest. Hello. A gruff voice echoed back, steady but laced with tension. Ava Miller. You need to listen carefully. I leaned against the counter, my palms sweating. Who is this? No time for that. We need to meet. You're in danger because of the man you helped. He's not who you think he is. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. What do you mean? If you want to know the truth, you have to be willing to risk everything. And just like that, the call ended, leaving me grappling with a million questions. The walls of the diner spun around me, and I felt trapped in my own reality. Was I really in danger? I glanced around, my eyes darting to the patrons who continued their meals, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. The waitress approached, concern etched on her face. You look pale. Everything okay? I don't think I'm safe, I stammered, my voice trembling. Just stay close, she advised, her eyes flitting to the door. If you need help, come to me. Nodding slowly, I sank back into my booth, thoughts racing. What had I stumbled into? And how could a simple act of kindness lead to such chaos? My instincts screamed for me to uncover the layers of this man's life. But short of venturing into the unknown, where would that leave me? The diner door chimed, pulling my attention as a well-dressed man walked in, scanning the room with intensity. My breath hitched. Was he looking for me? The taste of fear turned my stomach, spurring me into action. I had to find out who this man was before my next move could seal my fate. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What other secrets could emerge from the shadows? But first, are you ready for more revelations? If you're enjoying this ride, make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts below. Let's unravel this mystery together, one layer at a time. The tense atmosphere in the diner felt more suffocating than it ever had before. The cheerful clatter of cutlery faded into the background as my heart raced, drowning out the mundane sounds of ordinary life. The man in the tailored suit stood by the entrance, his eyes piercing through the haze of familiarity, and for a brief moment, I debated whether to get up and confront him or fade into the shadows of the booth. Hey, Ava. The waitress leaned in closer, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. Are you all right? You're looking a little spooked. I forced a smile, attempting to mask my unease. Yeah, just a lot on my mind. I might need your help though. Her brow furrowed in concern, and she nodded, her loyalty to a stranger evident in her eyes. You just say the word, and I'll be right there with you. As the suited man took a seat at an empty booth, I weighed my options. Ignoring him felt like a bad idea. Curiosity and caution warred within me. Finally, curiosity won. I slid out of my seat, each step towards him feeling like I was crossing a threshold into the unknown. He glanced up, his demeanor effortlessly composed, a stark contrast to my frenzied heart. Are you the one I need to speak to? I asked, summoning every ounce of courage I had. He offered a slight smile but kept his eyes calculating and serious. Ava Miller, I presume. I'm glad you decided to approach me. His voice was smooth but carried an edge that sent shivers down my spine. You're entangled in a complicated situation, and we need to clear some things up. Who are you? I demanded. What's this all about? No need for alarm, he said, raising a hand as if to calm my racing thoughts. I'm from a security agency working on a highly sensitive case. The man you helped at the diner was deeply involved in something dangerous. I blinked, trying to process the gravity of his words. Dangerous? What do you mean? The nature of his involvement is classified, he explained, scanning the diner as if confirming no one else was listening. But your kindness has unwittingly put you in the crosshairs of some very powerful people. I felt the air thicken around us. And what do you expect me to do about it? His expression softened, if only for an instant. We need your account of that day. Any details, however small, could make a difference. Time is of the essence. I hesitated, fear and doubt gnawing at me. And if I refuse, then you may find yourself in a more perilous situation. Trust me when I say that your safety hinges on the choices we make right now. My heart raced. The gravity of the conversation tightened its grip on me, and I felt the darkness of the unknown lurking just out of sight. I had already stepped into the labyrinth. Was there any way back? "I'll help," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just tell me what you need to know." His expression shifted slightly, something akin to relief flickering behind his composed facade. "First, I need a timeline. Can you think back to that moment? What did he say? What was his demeanor?" The diner felt impossibly small as I tried to recall the scene from days earlier. He seemed lost, like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He mentioned being in too deep. Yes, that's it. Do you recall the specific words he used? I closed my eyes, recalling his haunted gaze. He said something about limited options, like he was grasping at straws. There was a desperation in his voice, like he knew something was coming. He took a deep breath, processing my words. That could be crucial. "Ava, we need to uncover who else is involved." Did he mention any names, locations, or events? I don't think so, I replied, panic rising. It was just a few polite words exchanged, nothing more. I paid for his meal, and it was a simple act of kindness. The weight of it all felt heavier now, like an anchor around my neck. I need you to remember more. This isn't just about the kindness you showed, it's about survival. His voice was steady, yet there was an urgency to it that sent chills racing down my spine. You unknowingly threw a wrench into their plans when you showed him compassion. People like that don't just disappear, they will come looking for answers. I can't believe this is happening, I murmured, staring into my coffee as if it would spout the answers I desperately sought. What happens if I can't remember anything else? Then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I'd suggest preparing yourself for the worst, because they won't give up easily. A commotion erupted at a nearby booth, snapping me out of my fear-induced stupor. A couple of patrons were laughing loudly, completely oblivious to the swirling tension at my table. The contrast felt surreal, like a scene from a thriller that danced just beyond the fringes of my reality. "Excuse me for a moment," he said abruptly, standing up. "I'll be right back." Panic surged, but I couldn't let him out of my sight. My instincts screamed at me to follow him, that every second mattered. I stood and slipped behind him just as he exited the diner and into the street. The air was cool, and as I stepped out, I caught up with the suited man just before he rounded the corner. "What are you doing?" I whispered urgently, peering down the empty street. "We shouldn't be out here." "There's something I need to show you," he replied, a hint of frustration in his voice. "We don't have time to be conspicuous." We ducked around the corner, and I could feel my heart hammering against my ribcage. What could possibly be so urgent? What threat awaited us? The fog of uncertainty swirled around me as we approached a sleek, black vehicle parked in the shadows. "You're not seriously going to get into that car with a stranger, are you?" My mind screamed, but the pull of what lay ahead was irresistible. He opened the door, and my instincts told me to run. But doubts fluttered around my mind like moths to a flame. What secrets awaited? What truths were intertwined in this web of chaos? And just before I could second-guess myself any further, I stepped forward, captivated by the unknown awaiting us. As the door swung shut behind me and the engine hummed to life, I knew that this chapter of my life was about to take an even more dangerous turn. Prepare yourself for startling revelations and unexpected alliances. If you're still gripping your seat, don't forget to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. You won't want to miss what happens next in this unraveling mystery as I venture deeper into a world of treachery and hidden truths. What awaited me beyond this next turn? Would I ever emerge unscathed? Only time would tell. A week had passed since that fateful midnight call, and my life had morphed into a quicksilver blur of fear, uncertainty, and adrenaline. The diner, once a place of comfort, now served as a haunting reminder of the moment my world shifted. As I stared at the rising steam from my coffee, I couldn't shake the feeling that something big was looming just beyond my grasp. I had agreed to meet the suited management Ross, as he introduced himself at the diner once more. He'd disclosed snippets of the truth over the past several days, yet every revelation left me with more questions than answers. Today felt different. Today I sensed a revelation was imminent. As I arrived at the table, Ross was already seated, his expression grave. "Ava, I need you to focus," he said, cutting straight to the chase. "We have a lead on the man you helped, the one you thought was just a stranger." I could feel a knot tightening in my stomach. "What do you mean? Is he safe? What have you found out?" He leaned in closer, dropping his voice to a near whisper. "His name is Adrian Klein. He was undercover, exposed, and now the clock is ticking. There are people who want him dead, and by extension, they want you too, because of your connection to him." Those words echoed hauntingly in the recesses of my mind. I felt lightheaded, as if the gravity of reality had just hit me. "What do you mean I'm in danger? I only paid for his meal." Your kindness turned into a beacon. "Those who were hunting him are now aware of your involvement," he said firmly, his eyes unyielding. "You must trust me. We need to move quickly and carefully." "Move where?" My voice quaked as panic threaded my words. "I can't just disappear." Ross shook his head. "You won't be disappearing. We'll make sure you're safe. Our next step is to locate Adrian, but for now, we need to create a diversion. Starting here." Before I could respond, he gestured subtly toward the entrance, and my pulse quickened. A group of men in dark jackets had strolled in, their chins held high with an air of authority, eyes scanning the room in a predatory manner. It felt as if they could smell the fear emanating from my very soul. "What do we do?" I whispered, panic rising in my throat like bile. He placed a hand over mine, firm and reassuring. "Stay calm, we'll play it cool, but we're not long for this place. Follow my lead." The seconds stretched on, each heartbeat resonating loudly in my ears as the men approached the counter. I couldn't tell if they were hunting for Adrian or if their eyes were set on me. My breathing became shallow, every move feeling like we were dancing with danger itself. As Ross gestured for us to melt into the crowd, I felt the heat of the impending confrontation rising. "Ava, trust me," he reassured, his voice low and steady. "You can do this." And then it happened. The loud ringing of the diner's doorbell cut through the tension like a knife. "Okay, that's our cue," Ross urged, standing abruptly. I grabbed my coat, the knit fabric feeling suddenly heavy. "Where do we go?" "Out the back. Follow my lead, no matter what," he said, urgency lacing his tone. With swift, calculated movement, we slipped unnoticed through the kitchen's back door, where the scents of frying oil and freshly baked pastries enveloped us. I could hear the muffled sounds from the diner as we stepped onto the alleyway, the safety of the night air washing over us. We gunned it down the narrow path, my heart pounding in rhythm with the sounds of footsteps echoing against the brick walls. "What about the men?" I cried, fear gripping my throat like a vice. "Keep moving. We need to reach a safe zone," Ross replied, never looking back. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I focused on the fleeting shadows as we dove into the night. The landscape blurred, lights flickering past, like memories racing in reverse. Each step away from the diner felt freeing, yet daunting relief coursed through me, battling against the terror of the unknown. "Where to now?" I gasped as we reached a secluded street. Ross turned sharply, his gaze piercing. "We're heading to a safe house. Once there, I'll get you in touch with Adrian. We can't afford any mistakes." Why is this happening? The weight of the question hung heavy in my heart. Because kindness doesn't go unnoticed. And sometimes it calls for repercussions we aren't prepared for, he stated, his voice low and grave. Just moments later, we arrived at a quaint, unassuming house. I had never been propped into such a scenario before right until this moment. My world revolved around coffee, with a sprinkle of solitude. Yet now, my life was intertwined with espionage, danger, and the fragility of human kindness. I stepped inside, my senses heightened. This is where my fate would turn, a point of intersection of choices leading me here, and perhaps an opportunity to find Adrian. The room felt alive with energy as Ross began tapping at his phone, his brow furrowed with concentration. "Stay close," he warned, and with my breath caught in my throat, we waited. Not long after, a figure appeared in the dim light. My heart skipped a beat. "Adrian," I called out, and the man turned, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. "Thank you for helping me," he said, urgency in his voice laced with relief. "We need to finish this." Facing the unknown together now, we began to brainstorm our next moves, piecing together the fragments of a mystery that had erupted with my act of kindness. I could feel the weight of the world lifting as I shifted from being a mere spectator to an active participant. As the night stretched on, I couldn't help but reflect on how one simple decision led me here, entangled in a web of connections and shared fates. And if you've enjoyed this adrenaline-laden journey, make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned. There's more to this story than a mere stranger's meal. Let's peel back the layers together, unveiling what lies beneath human connections, bringing hope, and staying one step ahead of danger. Join us as we navigate through twisting paths and unforeseen revelations until the day justice meets fate.